Hello there, folks. My name is Spoonks, and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was Dune Part 2, making $4.3 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $272 million and a worldwide total of $686 million. In a surprise turn of events, Dune Part 2 is back in the top 5. This comes to a surprise, especially to me, because I was not expecting not only for this movie to jump back into the top 5, but also for it to make more money than both Monkey Man and The First Omen did in their second weekends. That is honestly astonishing to see, the fact that this movie has been able to accomplish such a feat. In terms of certain milestones, it is now less than $30 million away from surpassing the $300 million milestone domestically. We'll see if it can get to that milestone at some point. It's looking likely, but I think it's going to be a slow crawl to get there, or it's just going to get very close to that milestone. But still, the movie has accomplished so much already that even if it gets close to that milestone, it will still be a success. And another milestone, it surpassed the $600 million milestone worldwide, and now it is less than $20 million away from surpassing $700 million worldwide, which I think is going to get there much quicker than the $300 million milestone domestically, given how powerful this movie has become internationally and how quickly it surpassed these other milestones. It seems very likely that it's going to surpass $700 million worldwide very soon. Yeah, not much more else to say. The fact that this was able to crack the top 5 once again after leaving it a while back is once again very surprising, and a welcome surprise at that. Seeing this movie still bringing in the audiences, bringing people to go and see it, and still king of the box office right now, both domestically and worldwide. We are heading into the summer movie season in a couple weeks, so we'll see if any of the big tentpole movies coming out this summer will top this. But as for right now, I think it's still once again safe to say that Dune Part 2 will remain the king of the box office. Right. Number 4 was, funny enough, Kung Fu Panda 4, making $5.5 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $173 million and a worldwide total of $452 million. I think it's safe to say in regards to this movie that this is in the migration stage, where it's really benefiting from being the only animated movie out right now. It's going to be sticking around in the top 5 for probably a couple more weeks and having very solid holds, because there's not much competition for this movie to face off against. It's one of a kind right now. It still has a little over a month until If and Garfield come out, which is insane to think about. You'd think another studio would have taken advantage of this, but I guess not. There's not a lot of smart people in Hollywood right now. But yeah, still, this movie is making the most out of it. Definitely, it is now less than $30 million away from surpassing $200 million worldwide. I think, like Dune Part 2, it's probably going to get close to that, or just barely get over that milestone. This has more of a chance because there's not as much competition for this movie to face off, but I think it's definitely going to be, once again, a slow crawl to that. Worldwide, it is a little under $50 million away from surpassing $500 million worldwide. I think it'll get to there eventually, even though I'm hearing speculations and rumors that word of mouth internationally isn't that strong, but still, with the movie costing $85 million, this is still a very solid total for the movie to be at. So yeah, expect this movie to stick around for a couple more weeks, have strong legs, due to the fact that it's right now one of a kind. Right now, no other animated kids movies out right now. This is definitely the migration stage of Kung Fu Panda 4, and it's reaping the rewards because of it. Number 3 was once again Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, making $5.7 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $96 million and a worldwide total of $159 million. I'll give it to this movie. It is sticking around a bit further than I expected it to, and it is getting a bit closer and has even surpassed a couple milestones. It's just $4 million away from surpassing the $100 million milestone domestically. Yay, I guess. And worldwide, it has surpassed the $150 million milestone. This would be good if this was the first movie, the predecessor, Afterlife. That was like a $75 million movie, so that would have been a win right there. But this is not that. This is $100 million movie, and it's struggling to surpass its initial budget domestically. Yes, it's been sticking around a bit longer than I expected, but I think that's just because, there's not much out right now, and there's not really for a lot for this movie to go off against. But even still, the movie has just done so poorly for itself. The fact that it hasn't reached the heights of the other big movies that came out around the time really just shows how audiences just didn't want to go check out the new Ghostbusters movie. So again, yeah, it's about to surpass a couple more milestones for sure, but unfortunately that's not going to be enough to help this movie out. It's still struggling despite the fact that there isn't a lot for this movie to face off of. Unfortunately, just a big disappointment once again for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I know I sound like a big record player here with when it comes to this movie, but that's all I can say. There's not much to talk about here. That it hasn't really been improving significantly or decreasing significantly. It's just been maintaining this state of just it's a disappointment. It's not a total failure, but it's not a success by any means. So yeah, once again, big disappointment for Ghostbusters. Number 2 was Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, making $15 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $158 million and a worldwide total of $437 million. So the movie is still doing very well for itself. On the worldwide side of things, it is $70 million away from surpassing the $500 million milestone. It should get to that milestone very soon. And on the domestic side of things, it's going to surpass Kong Skull Island to become the second biggest film in the MonsterVerse franchise. We'll see if it can get to the 2014 Godzilla numbers and crown for the biggest film in this franchise. It's definitely going to be interesting to track this movie's numbers because despite it holding much better than last weekend, I do feel like this was a bit on the front-loaded side of things. It's not like it's dropping significantly since then, but I do feel like the hype has died down a bit after the film's big opening. I think most people went to go and check it out. Most of the Godzilla and King Kong fans, while everyone else hasn't been really feeling the urge to go check it out, or doesn't have that repeat viewing essence that something like Dune had, I think. So I think this might have been been hurt by being a bit front loaded, but still it is still doing very well for itself. Again, it's about to surpass $500 million worldwide on a $135 million budget. That is outstanding for this film, and I still think it's going to make the most out of this slow period. Again, there is nothing of this scale out right now until the summer movie season. So yeah, I think this is gonna really make the most out of that for itself, and it's doing better than Ghostbusters. It's not being a total disaster or a disappointment by any means. It's just that after that big opening weekend, I was expecting a bit better holds for it, but it's still doing pretty solid nonetheless. So yeah, while it is not looking to be as massive of a hit as I was expecting, especially with that big opening, it's still doing pretty well overall. And finally, let's end the video off with the number 1 movie of the weekend, which was Civil War, opening with $25 million this weekend domestically. There are no international totals as of yet, so the worldwide total stays the same. This is A24's biggest opening of all time, topping Hereditary, The Witch, The Green Knight, and Midsommar. So not only was this the first film to dethrone Godzilla x Kong, but it also was able to have a pretty solid opening, if I do say so myself, not just because the film costed $50 million, and this is a pretty good start for a movie like this, but just like I said, just for the type of movie this is, the fact that it was able to open at number 1 despite how it's a movie about a potential civil war occurring in the United States, with the buzz and the discussion and the discourse going on around this movie. The fact that it was able to drum up this much interest into its opening is pretty commendable and admirable, and I'm sure A24 is happy with how this movie paid off on its first weekend. This was definitely a big risk, a big gamble for them. That this is them trying to start to make some blockbusters, and if this movie heading down the road continues in its solid path, I think we could see A24 becoming one of the more notable mainstream studios, not just producing great smaller films, but also great blockbusters that get people invested in going to the movies. I think this is a great launching point for them. However, in regards to its heading down the road, that does bear the question on how audiences feel, and audiences are rather mixed on this movie. It did get a B minus on Cinema Score, which, you know, it could have been worse. It could have been way, way worse. But still, this is not looking great for the film's legs. I wouldn't be surprised if this movie had a big drop next weekend, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see it turn things around. This could go either way, once again, given the subject matter, given the timing. You know, there's not a lot of movies out right now, so there's a chance it can make up for the lackluster word of mouth, but it also could be negatively impacted by the lackluster word of mouth. Again, this is a big gamble, a big wild card right now. It's going to really depend on how it legs out in the coming weeks, how it fares against some other movies. Hopefully it can continue bringing interested people to the theaters, and, you know, given the $50 million budget, not only does it need to surpass that, but it needs to double that. And so it's going to be an interesting one to look at, an interesting one to, like, keep our eyes on for sure. But as far as the film's opening, yeah, this is a pretty solid one, I would say. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where this movie goes further down the line. But as far as its, like, opening, as far as its starting point, things are looking solid right now, you know, and hopefully it can continue this streak. But I will remain skeptical about that given the mixed reception from audiences. And those were your top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters. And this weekend we have 3 new wide releases, the first being Spy X Family. Being that this is another film that's based off of a very popular and beloved anime, I see this movie shaking up the top 5 a bit. I think it's definitely gonna knock some movies out of the top 5 due to how popular and beloved this anime is, including by yours truly. I think a lot of the fans are going to go rush out and see this, but because this is also a film based off of a popular anime, this is definitely going to be very front-loaded. I think it's going to crush it on its opening, but after that, it's going to plummet afterwards. Not a lot of people are going to go and see it after that. I feel like this is going to follow the trend we have seen time and time again with movies based off anime, for sure. So yeah, expecting good things for its opening, but after that, not so much. Then there's The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. God, that's a mouthful. This is Guy Ritchie's latest R-rated action movie, this time based off true events involving World War II and killing Nazis. Nothing sounds better than that. If anything, I see this movie doing similar to what The Beekeeper did earlier this year, just an R-rated, bloody action movie with a sense of humor that I think taps in to its own audience and becomes kind of a sleeper hit for itself, really makes a name for itself, becomes, you know, a sleeper hit because of that. It's got a solid cast, it has solid marketing. I've been seeing stuff for it recently. The buzz does seem to be there, and it recently had some early access showings, and they did very well from what I could tell. Some theaters near me were sold out, so I think there's a lot more interest to this movie than I think one expects. I don't think this is going to be a major hit. Again, The Beekeeper wasn't that major of a hit, but I do think this is going to make some money and be solid counter programming and, you know, do pretty well for itself. And then lastly, there's Abigail, a new horror film about a group of criminals who realize the little girl they're holding hostage is actually not only a ballerina, but also a vampire. It's been a rough 2024 for horror films. Still, the one that was able to make the most out of everything is Night Swim. That is not right, but I do think this movie is going to improve where the other horror movies have failed. I don't think this is going to be the next Megan or Scream 6 by any means, but I do see strong things with this movie. First off, the marketing has been fantastic. I've been seeing a lot of promos and stuff for this movie. Again, the cast is stacked here. Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, Catherine New, and Giancarlo Esposito. I think those are going to drum up people to see this movie. I think the concept is intriguing enough to go and check it out. And there does seem to be a lot of buzz with this movie. I do see people talking about this and getting excited to go and check it out. So yeah, I have a lot of high expectations for this movie. I think this is gonna really improve where a lot of horror movies didn't. I think this is gonna get horror onto the right track right now. Not expecting huge things for this movie, but I'm expecting a solid opening here. I think this could really surprise. But we'll see how well this movie truly does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied? Unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all those social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.